Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan, I'm your host. And today, guys, I'm going to be talking about systems, processes, how to improve uh, how you do anything, and really a great story that I learned in sitting in an electrical contractor's office this last week, and really what you can learn from that. So, today, do you have a system to improve the way that you do anything within your firm, or do you just fly by the seat of your pants? More than likely you have maybe some type of system, but it's probably not fully documented. And with that, just like you have goals, you have things you want to achieve, you have revenue milestones that you want to hit, right? You're not going to hit those without a good plan in place, without a good system. And hoping and praying that you're going to win projects is like not a good strategy, right? Like you need to have a process and a system in place to win those types of projects. And without any plan, obviously you're going to be less likely to hit any goal, and you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants, right? It's on a whim, it's on a prayer, and hope is not a good strategy. So, in sitting in a contractor's office the other day, and they were honestly telling me about some estimating software that they were going to start using to help automate some of the processes within the estimating uh, process and system. And their CFO had this comment that I thought was just um, so apt. It's really the thing that most everybody says within the industry. We don't have time to learn that. We don't have time to learn that new system. We don't have time to put it in. And the electrical contractor, the president of the company, his response was, so you don't have time to get better? You don't have time to learn it now so that when the future gets here, because it's coming, right? We every day we tick off another day. Um, in that 3 years, 2 years, whatever it takes us to learn it, we'll be ahead of everybody else because we took the time to learn it, implement it, and get better than everybody else while they weren't doing anything, right? And again, you're never going to grow, hit your big revenue numbers if you don't start implementing some of these systems. And I really think that this whole phrase of we don't have time to improve or get better, we don't have time to learn so that we get ahead, right? It's so good because it encapsulates so much in just a single phrase. If you don't work on improving your business, if you don't work to improve your systems and processes, then other firms are just going to pass you up. You'll get left behind if you aren't consistently improving and doing that 1% better every day. And here's ultimately what I mean. Like today, if you're not using Revit on projects, then you by default can't go after large projects. Can't really do any schools, hospitals, stadiums, or large corporate jobs because BIM is a contractual obligation on those projects. Just say goodbye to all federal work because all federal work is mandated or contractually obligated to have BIM as a requirement for it. So that's basically all schools, all public works projects, all federal buildings. Like you're not going to get those projects. So, and that's everyone up and down the line, right? That's architect, that's engineer, that's contractor. You have to have the ability to work on BIM projects. And so firms solely using AutoCAD are getting left out of many large projects because they just don't have the technical capabilities to execute on them. And so this creates um, really a problem for those firms in being able to grow. And usually what you find in most firms that are still, especially architecture firms that are still using AutoCAD, is they're led by an old guy who's not going to change anything because he's going to retire in 5 years, or he feels like he's going to retire in 5 years and doesn't need to change anything and he'll be just fine. So when it comes down to like software and thinking about software usage, there are really a few levels. And I like to use the Excel analogy for this because everybody uses Excel at some level, right? You're either a beginner and you can put a table together, you can do data entry, um, really some just basic stuff, right? Maybe some basic math functions within Excel. And then there's like the accountants, right? They are super users of Excel. They can do all these crazy formulations and pivot tables and all this crazy stuff. And then there's really the finance guys take it to a whole new level, and they're like writing macros and doing all this other crazy stuff to, automate functions and build all these crazy things within Excel. And so those are kind of like, basic, super entry level, medium tier slash advanced, and then just like super user, right? The guys at the top of the pyramid. And this really goes for any software. Is you have really your basic users, your advanced folks, and then your super users. And pretty much every software is going to have some of those. And so when we think about the AEC industry and construction, um, there's really a couple things that we need to think about when it comes to technology, right? Because we're somewhat scared that we have to be super users of all this stuff, where really you maybe need one super user, but really you need probably one advanced user, somebody who understands the piece of software and can get through it. And then pretty much everybody else in the firm can be a basic user of it. But I really want to replace like the word technology in this big amorphous term into like tools, just like tools in a tool belt, like a hammer or a drill or a saw. You're really just trying to get an outcome, right? I'm trying to put things onto a drawing that makes sense so a contractor can get counts out of it. Things can be coordinated so we don't have field issues, and we could do takeoffs and get estimates and put budgets together, right? That's ultimately what drawings are for, is to, hey, this is what's going to get installed. We plan all of that and design it all before, so that when it comes to construction, it's very straightforward and nothing has to get figured out in the field, or very little has to get figured out in the field. So if we think of technology as just tools in a tool belt, we'll be much better off. And then it really helps change your beliefs around it, because now when you think tool, you have a much different uh, basis of thought around it. Like, yes, you're using technology, but it is a tool, right? It needs to be integrated into your systems. It needs to be something that improves and enhances everything that you're doing, right? And so the other kind of belief that you've got to change is that if you believe nothing is going to get better, if you believe that you don't have the time to improve, then you will never improve. It's a pessimistic outlook, right? And the only way that you can grow is through optimism, right? And then action towards the goals that you set. And you're only going to move towards those goals if you're optimistic about the future. If you think nothing's going to work or nothing's going to happen, then you're never going to do anything. You're never going to get off center. So with all of this, people and tools go hand in hand, whether that's a power tool or the software that you're going to use, right? So taking a tool, showing somebody how to use it safely and effectively and efficiently, or a scheduling tool that helps streamline the entire project and make sure the right people show up at the right time at the right place on the right day. Like those are the things that we want to achieve through tools that we use. So no matter what tool you're using, we want to make sure that we get a good result in using that tool, and it improves our productivity, that the investment in the tool is worth the cost of the tool. And over the last 5 to 8 years, I say less than 10, probably more than 5. Really, we've had this big influx of venture capital effectively into the construction technology space. So a lot of and more field stuff, contact within the field that comes from people that are not part of construction, right? They are not the people that have been on job sites, had to deal with anything construction. And so you really had this big influx of products that didn't work, and it's burned a lot of people in construction, right? And being part of construction tech, it's probably affected us in some ways. But really, it's why Cowabunga Studios is different. It's why everything that I've done is very different. It's from an engineer who's done that job for engineers who do that job, right? Like, and I am still working on projects, still using my software to automate, the placement of lights, receptacles, switches, everything that goes into a model, right? I am an electrical engineer. Cowabunga Studios is built by, me, others, right, from my ideas. And so it's very different than other contact, is that Cowabunga Studios is from somebody that has had the problems, experienced the issues, the same issues that you guys experience on projects, is why like Cowabunga Studios is so different than pretty much every other construction tech product out there. And frankly, in using Cowabunga Studios software, right, using Surfboard, Skimboard, Auto Circuit on projects, I've been able to hit 50+% margins on the projects that I'm working on personally. And that's, keeping track of my time, billable hours. It includes all meetings, all that kind of stuff. And again, because it's built to work on actual projects, right? Surfboard, Skimboard, Cowabunga Studios Productivity Pack is built to work on actual projects. And that's why I'm able to hit 50+% margins on projects, is because lighting and lighting controls get done in just a few minutes. Receptacles get placed in just a few minutes. Data devices get placed in just a few minutes in a model. Like I had go and place data outlets in 15 offices today. It took all of 30 seconds to do. And if that, really like 5, because I ran Skimboard, hit typical rooms, placed them in offices adjacent to the door, boom, populated all the spots in the center of the wall and exactly where the client wanted them. Print a set of drawings. Took longer to print the set of drawings than it did to place all those devices in the 15 offices they needed to go in, and went from there, right? Like it was that simple to update and add, to a drawing, right? And again, this just goes down the line. And then circuiting is super easy because auto circuit allows you to circuit devices within a room really quickly. Then I can place all my panel schedules on sheets instantly. I mean, you just keep going down the line, like, and then you use the built-in functions from Revit to tag all. So you place everything, you circuit everything, you tag it all. And then now most of your time is really just spent moving tags so that it's legible. And like, that's it, right? Like now you're ready to go to print. And as you're moving tags around, you're QA and QCing it, adjusting things as necessary, and you're ready to go. And so, I mean, for me, as I look back on all the other projects and margins that we had on projects, like if I was really crushing it on a project, I would hit 20, maybe 25%. The majority of projects were 10 to 15% margin. And really, I mean, that's hard to grow a business on in 10, 15% margins. You have basically no cash left over to hire people, and things are just super tight. But this is the traditional way that firms go. And so because they run these low margins on projects, it becomes really hard to hire people. Then, again, and that was at dollars back in, that's 7-8 years ago. Now, honestly, salaries have gone up 20-30% for senior engineers, right? You're looking at 140 for starting engineers, or for senior engineers, 100 grand for just electrical project engineers, probably 120, depending on where you live. Now, if you're in the West Coast or in the Bay Area or New York or whatever, those numbers are obviously going to be higher. Like a lot of those numbers are Midwest numbers, honestly. So again, those salaries are going to be higher because your cost of living is higher in those spaces. So again, the whole reason for me creating Cowabunga Studios is because it was a way to go faster. Like there was no other way to do it. And again, it became hard to hire people, find people, and productivity just wasn't increasing. So not all tools are created equal. Like you're not going to get that on every single project, and really you're not going to get that with every single tool that's out there. Like, again, there's not necessarily an electrical automation tool out there that does what Cowabunga Studios does and placing devices, doing lighting calcs for you. Like that is a big part of what we do and how we're able to, again, quickly put projects together. So the bottom line for this podcast is really like, if you don't take the time to invest in software, in new tools, in vetting them, right? Finding them, vetting them, testing them, implementing them, putting them into your process and taking advantage of these productivity improvements, like where are you going to be in 3 to 5 years? Because remember, Revit was only viable for MEP in like 2012. maybe 2010. So it's been around for 13, 15 years on the MEP side. And a lot has happened in the last 3 to 5 years with the rise of AI and all this other technology. Like, honestly, who knows where we're going to be in another 3 to 5 years? Like, a crazy amount of things have happened. Like, our software has gotten so much better in the last year, honestly, with implementing auto circuit and that getting released to automatically circuit stuff, to adding panel schedules, to I mean, there's just a lot of improvements that we've made within the Cowabunga Studios productivity pack. So I can't imagine what bigger teams like Microsoft, I mean, you're seeing it with like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, all the AI technology that's getting rolled out, all the crazy stuff that's coming from Microsoft, and how they're able to compute and produce all of this basically AI generated stuff, which again, it's getting better and better like every single day, and the amount of data they're able to crunch and calculate and spit out anything from papers to sales papers to objection handling, like you name it, all that's able to be done via AI. And now they're even handling sales calls. Like, it's kind of crazy the amount of stuff that's out there. So you can just imagine what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. Again, I have no idea how many advancements are going to get made or what's going to get made. But the point of this is, like, think of software as just another tool. It needs to have a return on investment. You need to be able to see how you use it within your current workflows and processes. And then that turns into, again, getting significant improvements, right? So going from 20% to 50% margin on projects, I mean, that's more than double in margin. And then that usually all falls out to your bottom line. So your bottom lines are going to increase significantly through using tools like this to, again, generate all of your design documents. And even now with auto circuit, that really puts you into getting more of a CD level set of drawings, which is just crazy. So again, think about the tools, think about the processes, start to look at investing in some of this stuff. And again, you got to compare it adequately, right? So like our tools, you need to compare it to the person that it's basically augmenting, right? So salary for an engineer from 100 to 140, so call it 120, right? That $120,000 person, which is $60 an hour, and that's not even weighted. Like, it's going to be more towards like 100, 110 weighted salary, which we've gone over some of that here. But that $100 an hour, right? That is weighted salary for that person. If our productivity pack is $834 a month currently, so you need to save 8.5 hours per month, right? And if you do any sort of sizable projects, you'll easily do that. Again, I've done 60,000 square feet of between lab and office space here in the last month, and again at 50+% margins. So anyway, this episode is all about like productivity, finding the ways that you can improve, and thinking about software as a tool. Because if you're not optimistic about the future, if you're not investing time and resources into figuring out which tech is going to work and implement those into your systems, you're just going to fall farther behind. So don't fall farther behind. And that is this episode of the Construction Corner podcast. Until next time.